Hello, dear ones, and welcome to Radiant Wise Women. If you're new here, I'm so glad you found your way to this space. And if you're returning, welcome back. It's an honor to be walking this path with you. I'm Lee Sumner Irwin, and this channel is a space where I share soulful reflections and supportive wisdom for women at any stage of life. Each week, I share a spoken version of my written Substack essays. In these essays, I touch on women's health and wellness, spirituality, the healing power of nature, embodied eldership, and everything in between. If any of this stirs something within you, I invite you to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with those you love. These small and simple actions help this work reach the women who need it most. And if you'd like to receive my writings directly to your inbox, you can subscribe over on Substack at radiantwisewomen.substack.com, which I've linked below in the description. The essay I'm reading for you today is called A Misty Morning Encounter with Wildness. It's about a surprise I discovered on a walk in the woods and our longing to reclaim our creative spark. I hope you'll find some comfort and nourishment in these words. Let's begin. The naturalist Lauren Isley once said, "One does not meet oneself until one catches the reflection from an eye other than human." I had no idea what was in store for me that day as I happily made the scenic hour-long drive north to spend the day with Nancy, my longtime friend. Nancy lives in a handcrafted home in a forest overlooking a spring-fed pond, tucked away in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. Her house, complete with a toasty wood-burning stove, art from her travels in China, including an exquisitely painted flying frog, and a breezy screen porch, was built with the help of generous neighbors. She calls it her personal paradise. With our hands curled around mugs of coffee, we settled into overstuffed chairs, delighted by the plump bluebirds we saw flocking to her nearby feeders. After 2 hours of deep conversation and solving most of the world's problems, we stretched and decided it was time for a walk. "To the river," we cried out in unison. Nancy and I stepped quietly through the woods, down a narrow dirt path that meandered along a creek. The sound of the water as it tumbled over the rocks was a symphony of bell tones and gurgling trills. The morning sun pierced through the mist, warming our faces after a week of extreme cold, a rarity in the deep south. We walked along slowly, stepping with care, with Nancy a few yards ahead. She passed a pine tree that stood inches from the path. As I approached the tree to follow her, I sensed something that made me stop in my tracks. In that moment, time stopped, and my senses instantly became elevated and activated. All else fell away as my attention was magnetized toward a compelling force. I invite you to join me in what happened next. I can hear every sound of the forest. The trees are breathing. I follow my attention and look to my left. A few feet away, I see a long gray-green snake emerging from the base of the tree. Part of her body is suspended in the air, and I silently watch as she turns her head slightly to peer at me through the slits of her eyes. The petal of her tongue samples the moist air. I can feel my heartbeat surprisingly steady, reverberating between my ears. I instinctively check the shape of her head. Is it triangular? I remember that would mean it is carrying venom in its bulging jaws. But no, thank goodness. I carefully observe its slender head on her long, intricately patterned body. I track the sound of my pulse, ba-boom, ba-boom, as she glistens in the sunlight. We gaze silently at one another, suspended in a space between worlds. I don't dare move or breathe for fear of breaking the spell between us. After what feels like a stretched eternity, she decides it isn't safe to be so exposed. She begins to retreat, undulating backward into the space under the tree. Still caught in the beam of her energy, I silently send a message of peace and apologize for interrupting her search for food. In an instant, I was transported back to reality. Seeing Nancy ahead, I continued steadily and mindfully down the path. As a child, I had an intense fear of snakes, but today, for the first time, I hadn't felt even a hint of that familiar panic. As serendipity would have it, our mystical walk had taken place on the Chinese Lunar New Year. According to their zodiac, 2025 is the year of the wood snake, signifying flexibility, creativity, and renewal. Snake medicine more generally speaks of the potential for deep transformation, shedding old habits, behaviors, and thoughts to make way for new beginnings. In ancient Chinese astrology, the wood snake embodies yin energy, which emphasizes receptivity and the feminine, as well as a strong connection to both nature and the wisdom of the earth guardians. 2 weeks later, on the first full moon of the Lunar New Year, I awoke with a jolt at 3:30 a.m. I slipped out of bed and went into the kitchen to brew a cup of ginger tea. Sitting at the table, wrapped in a furry robe and witnessed by the silhouette of towering trees framed in the moonlight outside my window, I began scrolling through Substack. I always feel nourished when I come to this platform. I just love being immersed in the poignant ethers of poetry, art, and intimate conversations. But on this particular morning, as I kept reading, I noticed a tightness creeping into my chest. It became hard to take a deep breath. As I pondered what is going on, I realized that I was comparing myself to other writers' posts, notes, and engagement. Only 5 people liked my post. Why am I spending all this time sharing my writing when nobody cares about it? My mind was spinning with old thoughts about my not good enoughness. As Red Smith says, there's nothing to writing. All you do is sit down at a typewriter and open a vein. Later that morning, I called Michelle, a dear friend, and talked it through with her. She lovingly asked me, "What was your original intention when you started publishing your writing?" Her question brought me back to my truth. I do want my words to inspire other women on their journeys, but I'm doing it primarily to honor my own creative expression. I'm writing to digest my life and to continue to explore and reveal the deeper meanings and higher purpose within the difficult days of my childhood. She gently pointed out that by revealing my heart in this way, and by putting my writing out into the public, I was probably feeling unsafe. Dr. Brené Brown coined the phrase vulnerability hangover to describe the emotional numbing that can occur after revealing intimate feelings. And that, combined with the full moon's influence, certainly rang true for me. I was so grateful that I reached out to my friend for support, and her parting words buoyed me. "Lee, I can hear your voice when I read what you've written." Happy tears poured down my face as I felt her encouragement. In that moment, I was reminded how important it is to be supported in our creativity and our vulnerability, and how there's nothing quite like the medicine of a true friend reflecting back to us the brightness of our own light. By the time we ended our conversation, I was laughing, but I was aware that there was still some raw emotion simmering just under the surface. I could feel pent-up tears welling at the base of my throat, ready to wash out the lingering self-doubt. So, in nurturing this tenderness I felt, later that day I ventured outdoors and sobbed as I sat with my back supported by a huge maple tree behind my house. Knowing that full moons can be both emotional and supportive of releasing what no longer serves us, I let my tears flow freely. This elder tree and I have a sacred relationship. I offer her regular songs and blessings and my love and appreciation, and she steadfastly receives my tears and holds me whenever I tremble. That night, it all clicked into focus for me. Self-doubt, creativity, shedding old thoughts, new beginnings. I realized the belief I held about my writing, that I don't have anything important to offer, was rigid instead of fluid. I discovered that I can simply let my disabling thoughts flow and slither away. This unhelpful thought form that nobody wants to hear what I have to say can be transformed into a new, more loving and accurate idea. Women everywhere want to hear my wisdom. As I reflected on my experiences, all of these lessons and realizations converged into one transformative experience. The intertwining of Sister Snake and Mother Moon offered the perfect alchemy of potent energy in which I could transform old doubts, embrace my power, and turn toward my original intention for publishing my writing. If you're alive, you're creative. Creating comes in many forms. Parenting is creating. Teaching is creating. Working is creating. Being a friend is creating. You too may be writing, whether here on Substack or pouring your stream of consciousness into your morning pages or journal. We are creating in every moment through our choices. There's no one on the planet who has your quirky, distinct perspective and life experience. Like a lighthouse beaming over stormy seas, no one else carries the particular frequency of energy that you shine into the world every day. So take heart, dear one. The year of the wood snake is a time for reflection and intentional growth. You might ask yourself, what can I do differently? How can I think differently to emerge more confident, more resilient, and more deeply committed to my purpose? What if you could trust that even in uncertainty, signs and symbols are always appearing to show you the way forward? A mourning dove cooing on your bird feeder, shiny pennies in surprising places, a book falling off a shelf, opening to the precise page that answers the question you've been pondering. How can you open your ears and heart to listen to the message that is just for you? When I look back at the trail of breadcrumbs, I can see many lessons and gifts. As I walk forward, I wonder what signposts are right ahead of me. No matter what, I trust the softening in my chest that tells me this journey has been worth the struggle and that it's safe for me to continue on. So lean into your courage, creativity, and curiosity. Call on the support that is right there whenever you reach out your hand. And remember that help comes in many forms, through dear friends, family, your nature teachers, unexpected synchronicities, or this very community of wise women. This truth, that you are being divinely guided toward your brightest, bravest self, is certainly reassuring, but can be hard to accept. So ignore the critics, especially the ones in your head. Follow the thread. Turn and look. Live deeper. In service of love and truth, Lee. And this snippet of poem from Mary Oliver. Softest of mornings, Hello, and what will you do today, I wonder, to my heart?